We will be talking about the NHL's opening week. On Left Bench Sports.
Cave on, did Alex. No, the Dolphins are not frauds.
All right, we gotta restart
again.
Bad this defense has been. I do not trust them against the Dolphins at all.
Milwaukee Bucks join the finals this year.
Got a whopping 52 fantasy points in Miami's route of Broncos country.
My 80-year-old grandmother could have broken more tackles and probably made more plays than Mahomes if they gave her a helmet and some football pads.
Welcome back to Left Bench Sports. This week we'll be talking about the 3 games around the NHL, the Giants' devastating loss to the Saints, and more of the NFL.
The first game we'll be recapping is the Bruins loss to the Devils on last Wednesday. The final score of the brawl was 2-1 in a nail-biting win for the Devils. And this was a rare low-scoring game for the Devils, as they've been one of the worst defenses in the NHL. Smitty, what does this loss say about the Bruins and the future of their season?
Doesn't really say anything. It's one game. It's one game out of 8. They've played 30 games so far. It doesn't do much. I was at the game, but it really doesn't do anything to their future.
Are you concerned out of their lack of offensive production the last few games?
Not really, because it really hasn't been that bad. It's not
one goal against the Devils is a little tough.
Well, they went to the Devils and then went to the Islanders and they beat the Islanders 5-4. So it's not that big of a deal of low scoring. So, but it's all right. It's the NHL. Any team can lose on any given night. Any team can win on any given night. So
That's
it doesn't
true.
matter.
Part of the this is due to their terrible goaltending. Vitek Vanacek has been awful.
Vitek is brutal. He is so bad.
Yeah.
Last season, he was good, but this season, he just hasn't been as good as he was last year.
But this wasn't the case for this game, as he gave up just 1 goal with 24 saves. Just an off night for the Bruins.
Yeah.
Jack Hughes won it for the Devils with a massive goal in overtime.
Yeah. That was a great goal by Jack Hughes. I was actually sitting pretty much right behind Swayman, and the Bruins are not ever good in overtime. They've lost every overtime game this year that they've played. They just don't have the speed. They don't have the hustle. As how the Devils do. They're young. They're a very solid team. Unlike the Bruins are a very solid team, but we don't have the youngness or the speed to keep up in overtime for 3-on-3.
Jack Hughes is just ridiculously fast.
And he's very young and he's very talented.
Yeah, he's so deceptive whenever he has the puck. You never know what he's going to do. Obviously, no surprise since he scored that goal, since he's been carrying the Devils the entire season. Yeah,
before his injury, he was first in points. He had so many points in that until his injury. But since he's been back, he's been firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. Dawson Mercer scored the other Devils goal, and it's been an underwhelming season for him. He was supposed to break out.
Yeah.
But,
I was in the car on the way to the game, and I actually called that Dawson Mercer was going to score a goal.
Yeah, that's sick, yeah.
Yeah. So, as you said, Dawson Mercer, he's not having as great as a year as he did in the past or last year. Yes, he's young, but he is a good player, and I think he has a lot of potential ahead of him.
Definitely need to see more from him though. Morgan Geekie scored the only goal for Boston. He's been a great depth find for the Bruins, honestly.
Yeah, he's been good. He's actually been rotating through the second and third line, and I think he's doing great.
I think he definitely deserves to stay on the second line.
Yes. Especially now that Matthew Poitras is going to the World Juniors for Team Canada.
Yep.
He is going to get that second. He's going to probably move up and stay on that second line until Poitras gets back from the World Juniors.
Yep. And the Bruins let down Swayman again. He had an outstanding game between the pipes.
Swayman, he stood on his head like usual. Every night, pretty much every game he's been playing this year, he's stood on his head, and he's helped out the Bruins really well.
Yep.
So, Let's move on to the next game. On Saturday, the Rangers beat the Bruins. Yet again, another 2-1 loss for the Bruins. Jeremy Swayman made 32 saves on 34 shots. Each team's offense was very quiet, but especially for the Bruins. But they got the early goal, but by Trent Frederick, but they couldn't really do anything.
Yeah.
After that,
I mean, they can't keep letting Swayman down. He's playing great.
Swayman has a good team in front of him. It's just that we're giving up late goals, like
Too many shots.
way too many shots. Like we're not blocking any shots, like or the shots that we need to be blocked, and that's how the Rangers won.
The Rangers could have had a blowout in that game too.
Yeah.
They had so many open shots, just great saves from Swayman, but can't leave that stuff open.
Vincent Trocheck had a great game with the tying goal and the winning goal. His first was a beautiful feed from Mika Zibanejad and his second was in overtime from another great pass from Panarin.
Yep.
That was just two great passes from both of the Rangers star players that, especially Panarin, he's been popping off, especially from last year when he was pretty much a ghost in the playoffs.
Yeah. Since Heedle's injury, the Trocheck and Panarin connection has been pretty great. Also, Shesterkin, he's had a rough season this year for the Rangers.
He hasn't been good.
Yeah.
He's been really bad. I wouldn't say really bad.
But for his standards, definitely,
Yes.
he's been awful.
I agree with you.
But he had a solid game, 1 goal on 22 shots. A great defensive game for the Rangers, honestly. A lot of block shots. Didn't give up too many shots on the net.
Yeah.
And Shesterkin stopped what he had to.
And then finally moving on to our last game where the Ducks defeated the Devils. The final score was a blowout, 5-1. That was just a brutal game for the Devils after they beat the Bruins in overtime, like losing to one of the worst teams in the league.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
The Ducks' goaltending was really outstanding. John Gibson just gave up 1 goal on 19 shots, but he came out due to an injury. So Lucas Dostal came in and he stopped all the 10 shots that he faced.
Yeah, the one goal that the Devils had scored was by Michael McLeod. I didn't see the goal, but I heard it was a pretty good goal.
Yep.
McLeod, he doesn't score that much, but he is the Devils star face-off guy.
Yeah,
He has
great
like,
face-offs, great depth player.
He has like 64-point-something%. That's like the best in the league, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He
does his job.
The Devils can put him out there for pretty much every face-off they need, and he'll probably win it. Like you said, Gibson left with an injury, stopping, and then like you said, Dostal came in. But the real spotlight of the game is the Ducks offense. The Ducks offense was outstanding. This Ducks center, Adam Henrique, he had 3 goals. Great goals. And then in net, Akira Schmid.
Awful.
Oh, he's brutal.
I mean, the Devils last year had 2 goalies playing great, and then this year, both of them are awful.
Yeah.
So it's really the Devils need to figure out what they're going to do with both Schmid and Vanacek.
Yeah.
You know.
I think, to be honest, I think they should trade for a better goalie like UC Saros.
Yeah, and
because he's looking to get out of Nashville. He doesn't like Nashville.
He's been struggling though.
He's been struggling there, and I think he could be a real great a goalie for the Devils.
Yeah, he could definitely use a change of scenery.
Yeah, maybe even you can either trade Vanacek and keep Schmid as your backup.
I think you keep Schmid. He's young. Let him keep his chance.
He's like Swayman. Like last year, Swayman didn't play much. Well, I mean they split time, but come to the playoffs, he didn't play much. And he's young, and he could be the franchise goaltender next year.
Yep. Yeah, this is just a typical game for the Devils goaltending. They've just seen nothing from either Vanacek or Schmid.
It's been really bad goaltending wise for them, but they have a great offense in front of them, offense and defense in front of them.
Yep.
So especially their young core. Their young core is very their average age is 26 on the team.
Yeah, they're very young.
Yeah.
A lot of potential. Well, that'll do it for this week's NHL recap. Don't go anywhere. Jesse will be giving his take on this week's Giants loss.
Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Left Bench Sports. I'm Jesse Link, and today we'll be covering the Giants' loss to the New Orleans Saints. A tough loss for the Giants here because it kind of slammed the door shut on their hopes for a playoff picture to a very, very beatable team nonetheless. So let's dive right into it. From the start of the game, the Giants' O-line did absolutely nothing. Plain and simple. Pass rushers were plowing right through them. DeVito was getting chased. He was getting knocked on his butt every 5 seconds in the backfield and, had to scramble all over the face of creation, and there was really just no specific person to blame. It was just the entire offensive line as a whole. That's probably the main leading reason for this loss. DeVito wasn't DeVito wasn't bad. He had 20 completions out of 34 attempts, only 177 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions, but he really isn't a deep ball type of quarterback, so that's a partial reason for the low yardage. But I think the bigger obvious reason for the numbers being somewhat low goes back to the O-line giving them nothing to work with except for a bunch of 3-and-outs and in turn very little possession time, and that's all really there is to say about that. Barkley had a extremely eventless game. Went 9 with 14, so nothing really going on there, kind of like the entire rushing game as a whole, which really makes me wonder why we only ran the football 16 times to a great passing defense. The New Orleans DBs were right on top of the receivers right from the snap of the ball, almost every play and every drive. DeVito had a nice little pass to Barkley in the first drive, but that's about as good as it got for them for the rest of the day. Now, the defense, on the other hand, I don't want to say they did poorly. They didn't by any means play great, but I really feel like they did what they could with the point support that they were given by the offense. They put up only 6 points for them and expect them to, keep the defense or the offense, to that same standard, But you can't expect them to not let them score a touchdown, especially with the little ball possession they got. And obviously, this was just a terrible way for this to go because now they have a bad record, but not bad enough for them to benefit in the draft next year. I doubt they're going to the playoffs. Beating Philly at this point is almost an impossibility, and now they get nothing. If they miraculously somehow beat Philly twice and LA once, which I think we can probably take it with the Rams, but we still don't even get a guaranteed spot if we win out. And if we do make it to the playoffs, they'll find a way to lose in the wild card, plain and simple. That's just how the Giants play. But anyways, with that being said, the Giants management really needs to figure something else out for next year because with this O-line, they won't be able to make the playoffs for the next 3 years. But, we'll see what happens over the next 3 weeks because it's looking like how this season and next season goes depends heavily on how they play for the next 3 weeks. But that's about it. That's all I have for you guys here today on Left Bench. But don't go anywhere because Dean and Jake will be right up with their weekly discussion on the NFL football.
Hello and welcome back to Left Bench. I got Dean with me here today, and Smitty talked about hockey with Ryan. So today I got Dean.
All right, we'll be covering 2 games today. First, let's talk about the Cowboys versus the Bills. Not the result the fans wanted. It was just a whooping by the Bills for them.
Yeah, the Bills controlled it from the start. Latavius Murray got in for a touchdown, and then James Cook caught one in the second.
Despite the score, Josh Allen didn't really have a crazy game. He laid 94 yards overall. Along with that, he did have a touchdown for at the end for rushing. And the second quarter was ready, 21-3.
Yeah, nothing crazy for Josh Allen. The biggest performance for the Bills was actually James Cook. He played really good. He was definitely waiting for this one because he's been kind of slow all year. He hasn't really done that much. But 180 rushing yards, 2 total touchdowns, big game out of him.
100%. Otherwise, really, they didn't have much going on offensively throughout that game.
Yeah.
And besides that, their only touchdown was a pass to CeeDee Lamb, which was kind of garbage.
Yeah. Cowboys really got nothing going. Definitely an underwhelming game for Dak, especially with how good he's been playing lately. Definitely underwhelming. Final score was 31-10 Bills, and this one was a big one that they needed. Cowboys look to bounce back next week against another tough matchup, the Dolphins. Next game, Ravens versus Jaguars. Ravens came in looking to clinch this playoff spot.
All right, the Ravens have been looking really good lately. I mean, in the first half, they put up 10, and their one touchdown pass was Isaiah Likely, which was pretty solid.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely's been looking good. I know a lot of people were worried about Mark Andrews being out, but 70 receiving yards and a touchdown this game. Last week, he had a pretty good game as well, so definitely a good replacement for Mark Andrews, and maybe even a future on the Ravens or another team because he's looking like a pretty good tight end.
I mean, he's putting in the work, and he's getting to his places, man. I mean, otherwise, it's Jaguars had 0 in the first half despite Trevor Lawrence passing over 150 yards. They were able to get it within 5 yards of the end zone with under 20 seconds, but made bad decisions going into halftime.
Yeah, I mean, Jaguars definitely left a lot of points on the board in the first half. Turnovers by Trevor Lawrence, could have got points there. And then at the end, had a quick drive down the field, got it within 5, and then bad play call. In my opinion, should have just spiked it. They decided to play it and got short of the end zone and sent it right to halftime. So good job by the Ravens stopping them in the red zone, not allowing them to score. But definitely frustrating for the Jaguars because I feel like if they were able to get a touchdown before the break, they would have been in a much better position and it would have changed the game.
100% for them, yeah. On that point, I mean, I can agree with you. It probably would have put them in a much better spot, and it could have changed the game for who knows what. I mean, statistically, though, let's move on to Lamar Jackson. He didn't have an amazing game, but he's a huge threat. I mean, 171 passing yards and 97 rushing yards for a QB is really good.
Yeah, statistically, wasn't that good of a game, 171 passing yards. But if you're watching the game, you could see how much of an impact he has. The defense has to constantly worry about where he's going to throw and if he's not going to throw, if he's going to run. So just the fact that he's able to buy so much extra time in the pocket, it's huge.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a good quarterback, and when he runs the ball, head down, straight towards people and goes through everybody he goes to.
Yeah, I mean, basically a running back, but he could also throw the ball. So a lot of people talk about Mahomes and these other quarterbacks, but Lamar's making his mark. I mean, you have to worry about – he just buys so much extra time in the pocket because after he gets pressured, he's able to create more space. So definitely huge for the Ravens.
He's able to scramble around, and if he has to, he definitely runs the ball down. He gets a couple of yards, or either he gets a good throw-off in general.
The Jaguars' only touchdown was in the third quarter. Trevor Lawrence threw a bomb to Jamal Agnew. That was his longest touchdown in his career so far. Despite the loss, Lawrence still looked pretty good. I mean, almost 300 passing yards.
I mean, 100%, I can agree. The fact that he played with an injured ankle and had, about 300 yards in passing?
Yeah, it was about 270.
It's really good for what he did, considering his ankle is injured and he's throwing 300 yards. That is, that shows he's got grit.
Just some better execution near the end of the half, a little less turnovers, and maybe they're just 1-2 players away from a really good contending spot.
Yeah, for a playoff contender team.
Yeah, they're a young team. Lawrence has been looking better lately, and I see a good future in Jacksonville. But the Ravens, with this win, they're now the first AFC team to clinch a playoff spot. They moved to 11-3. A tough Christmas Day matchup versus the 49ers, but I think they got a good shot, both 11-3.
I think that'll be a really good game for everybody to watch on that day.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. The Ravens are now the first AFC team to clinch a playoff spot. They moved up to 11-3, and they have a tough Christmas Day matchup against the 49ers. It's going to be interesting. 2 hot teams, 11-3. So it's going to be exciting to watch on Christmas.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I mean, that's going to do it for this week anyway. Don't go anywhere next. Next up is Luke and Jake once again talking about more of the NFL.
Welcome back to Left Bench Sports. Now we're going to be talking about some more NFL games. I have Jake with me here today because Myles couldn't be here. And first, we're going to be talking about the Bengals and Vikings game. So, Jake, who did you expect to win this game?
I thought that the Bengals were going to win this game because Jake Browning has been playing really well. He stepped in for Burrow, and he's been impressive.
Yeah. The Bengals have been really good. Even with Burrow being hurt, they've had some other injuries. Jake Browning in this game threw for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns and only had 1 interception. Joe Mixon also ran for a touchdown. And T. Higgins had a great game with 4 catches for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, you're looking for a big game from T. Higgins, especially because Jamar Chase left the game early with a shoulder injury. But Bengals as a whole are still looking good, despite Joe Burrow being out for the rest of the season. Jake Browning comes in, and that's already a few 300-plus passing yard games. So definitely huge from him. And a lot of people thought Bengals season was going to be over, but they still look like they got a shot at some good playoff games. And if they make a run in the playoffs, never know.
Yeah. So the Vikings, they also played pretty well. I mean, Nick Mullins, another backup quarterback, Kirk Cousins is hurt, and then Josh Dobbs got pulled last game, so he threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions. And their backup running back, Ty Chandler, had 132 yards and a touchdown. So they both had good games. Jordan Addison had a great game with 2 touchdowns and 6 catches for 111 yards, and Justin Jefferson came back from injury, so we didn't expect as much from Addison, but he still played well. Jefferson didn't do as much. Had 7 catches for 84 yards, didn't have any touchdowns. Not a bad game, just not as good as we're used to seeing him.
Yeah, still a good game from Jefferson, but obviously you're expecting big numbers. Jefferson back, that's definitely huge for the Vikings too. Obviously you're upset that Kirk Cousins is out, so it's going to be harder. You know, Nick Mullins, not really on the same level as Kirk Cousins, but you could probably earn themselves a wild card spot. And if they win out, they could probably earn themselves a wild card spot. But I don't see them going too far in the playoffs. You like seeing a pretty good game from Nick Mullins besides the 2 interceptions. But definitely a great game by Jordan Addison. I mean, I'm upset that I benched him in fantasy, but I don't think anyone was expecting that just because he was kind of slow the past few weeks.
Yeah. And both these teams are still fighting for playoffs with a bunch of injuries. Both of them down their starting quarterback. Both their number 1 wide receivers have had issues. I mean, Chase got hurt in this game. They're hoping he's going to be back for the Bengals at some point in the next couple of weeks, so he doesn't miss playoff time. Jefferson's been injured pretty much all year, and he just came back. So if both these teams can get a little more healthy, I know neither of their quarterbacks will be back, but if the other people get healthy, both these teams can make a big push to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think both these teams are on the brink of a playoff spot. They just need to win 2 more games. The Vikings might be a little bit easier because the NFC, there's a lot of 6 and 7 teams kind of that are right on the edge trying to make a spot. But there is a lot of good teams in the AFC, and I think the Bengals are definitely going to have to win out or win all but 1 game.
Yeah, they're going to need a strong push at the end of the season to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
Going into the 4th quarter of this game, the Vikings actually led 17-3. They had a big lead. Then the Bengals in the 4th quarter made a comeback and tied the game on a really nice catch from T. Higgins and then dove into the end zone for the touchdown to tie it and send the game to overtime. Then Evan McPherson in overtime hit a game-winning field goal to win the game 27-24 for the Bengals, which really helps their playoff chances. And, yeah, we'll see how they do.
Yeah, this is obviously a great game and a big overtime win for the Bengals to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, it was. Now we'll be talking about another game with major playoff implications between the Bucs and Packers.
Personally, I thought that the Packers would win this game. I thought they were going to come back from a tough Giants loss and win this game, but that's actually not what happened. Baker Mayfield went crazy. 381 yards, 4 touchdowns. Rashad White had a big game, 89 yards and a receiving touchdown. Just all around, great games from everyone. Chris Godwin, 10 catches and 155 yards. Mike Evans got his usual touchdown. So impressive by Baker Mayfield and the Bucs.
Yeah, I think that might be Baker Mayfield's best game of his career, possibly.
Yeah, I think so.
380 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was former number 1 overall pick, been on 4 different teams now, I think. And Mike Evans, another 1,000-yard season. He does that every year, and it feels like he has a touchdown every week. Chris Godwin had a great game, 10 catches, 155 yards. Is really good for him.
Yeah.
And the Packers just didn't play as well. I mean, Jordan Love had a decent game, 280 yards and 2 touchdowns, but not great. Aaron Jones only had 50 yards. A.J. Dillon didn't play, so yeah, they couldn't keep up with the Bucs today.
Yeah, missing A.J. Dillon. Jaden Reed stepped in. He's a young guy that they're looking for a little bit of something. 6 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. But the Bucks led this entire game. A huge game by Baker Mayfield. I mean, they're even looking for a bottom wild card spot, so they keep their hopes of winning their division alive, and they hurt the Packers' playoff chances by a lot.
Yeah, they basically ended the Packers' playoff hopes. This loss really hurts them. The Bucks, they can still win their division. That's a weak division, but winning the division gives them a playoff spot. So I think they are first in their division right now, and if they keep winning, they'll go to the playoffs, winning that division.
Yeah, I think they're battling with the Saints right now. That's really it. And both the Saints and the Bucks, the Saints don't look like that crazy of a team, but they have a really good defense, and I think they can definitely win out. But if the Bucks and Baker Mayfield keep playing this way, I think they can maybe win their division.
Yeah. So that is all we have from Left Bench Sports this week. We hope everyone has a great holiday, and we will see you back in 2 weeks.